valley in the Tyrol Mountains of Austria lies Innsbruck. In 1964 and 1972, a Winter Olympic venue, and just outside by the small town of Eagles is where we go sliding. Hello everybody, welcome back to Innsbruck for the second and deciding run, round 5 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me Nathan Crumpton. And Nathan, what an interesting top 3 we've got.
It is. We've got Marcus Wyatt sitting in 3rd place. He is on the cusp of his first World Cup medal. He's been sliding phenomenally all season and to the last year, and he put down a blazing run, 52.61, and he could walk away with a medal today. We'll see if he improves at all, and we'll see what happens. But in 2nd place is Alexander Tretyakov, the Russian rocket, known for his super fast starts and a little bit of a wild sliding style from Alex. His legs came out a few spots. He had a little bit of a skid, which we can see right there, but he still held on to the 2nd fastest time of the heat, and he has success here in the past as well. So we'll see how his 2nd heat goes. But the man to beat is Martins Dukers, the guy who has won 9 times in a row here, at least 10 if you count a world championship. You look at Martin's slide and you think, oh yeah, that is doing it right. He has an armory of knowledge. He's sitting in 1st place, very tidy slide, and has nearly 0.2 of a second advantage.
And that should be enough, but in this sliding sport, and particularly on this track, although everybody knows it so well, one mistake can give away just enough. And Alexander Tretyakov, last win here 13 seasons ago, but he has got what it takes. And if Marcus Wyatt can hang on to a medal, what a huge result for him. Interestingly, in our first heat, we had not 1, not 2, but 3 sliders tied for 20th place. So we'll have 22 sleds in our quotes top 20. Carl Mero, Kevin Boyer of Canada, and the rest you see below them missing out on the 2nd heat, including our World Cup rookie, Jared Firestone from Israel. Well, there is Alexander Tretyakov. He's been in the medals so many times on this track. Silver, 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 and a couple of bronzes. And he's the real challenge. For Marcus Wyatt, this, again, it's going to be won or lost in the head there, because he's in unfamiliar territory. Sun Bin-yoon right behind him.
Yep, and Jisoo Kim as well. 2 Koreans hot on his heels. They're going to put up a fight, and we'll see who ends up on the medal table.
And Yun, 32 medals in 43 World Cup starts up until today. So, you know, he expects to be in the medals, not is used to it. So the pressure on Marcus there. And further back, from 5 to 15th, that's where the logjam of sliders is. Guys like Thomas Dukers, like Gung Won-chang of China here, where there's 100s, 200s, maybe 300s in front and behind each of these men. So it's going to be really, really where all the sort out happens.
Absolutely.
And of course, the first thing we've got to do is break the tie between Sebastian and Ash, Ronald Alderset, and Yan Wengang of China, because they're all exactly tied to the 100th after the first heat.
And that's the thing, in skeleton, you can't just be a one-hit wonder. It's not just one round. You have to do it one more time. You have the time to reflect and then do it all again.
Yeah. So you got to win this race twice. So, first of our 22 sliders, a 3-way tie. Ties are by no means uncommon here in Innsbruck. Sebastian and Ash for Romania. Martin Haven and Nathan Crumpton watching the action here in Eagles.
This was a great first run that he had. Oh, just missing the camera. There we go. Back into his start, going into curve 1. And getting around curve 2, the Omega corner here. Big, long, sweeping corner before it sets you up into curve 3.
Little quicker start for him. 5:09 in the first heat, 5:05 in the second.
Coming out, and this is where a lot of sliders had some trouble. Stays off of that wall going out of 4. And then now into 5, setting you up for that critical Kreisel.
Got to use the height and a nice X. He's got his shoulders up quite high. He's looking where he's going, not hugely experienced on this track.
It was a good exit out of Kreisel. A little bit of a skid and a tap there in that straightaway between 9 and 10. A lot of height. 10 takes that little tap, a little bit loose and a little wild, flapping right off the end of the corner there in the lower labyrinth. Performing, crossing the finish line.
Second ever World Cup race for him. And there is his quote teammate from Israel, Jared Firestone. Working together, the 2 small nation athletes. And Sebastian, 5:05 and a 53.24 at the bottom, 53.32 in the first heat. So faster start, better slide. Raced here last week in the Europa Cup races. And that experience is helping him, definitely.
And he also had the advantage here of having fresh ice.
Yep.
Fresh spritz during the break, and he had pristine ice, and that also probably helped his cause a little bit too.
Well, the first 2 or 3 guys will get some really nice ice conditions. Tied after the first heat again. Ronald Arderset. Ronnie was in 20th place last year. 20th place 3-way tie this year after heat 1. Will he move up or move down? Because, of course, now if he ends up behind Sebastian, he could end up 21st or 22nd and still have made the second heat. And that's going to confuse me next year when I'll go, oh, he didn't make the cut this year. No, he did.
He did, and there's a tie.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see how Ronnie does. He had the 13th fastest start in the first heat. He's got good leg turnover, good speed, and that gives him the potential to break the tie in his favor. 5:09, actually just a little bit slower than the Romanian slider.
Yep.
So we'll see how the slide goes, see if he picks up any speed on his way down and maybe breaks the tie in his favor.
Well, he's got much more experience of ice sliding per se and of this track as well than Sebastian. So this is Ronnie's 36th World Cup race, Sebastian's 2nd.
Yeah, big difference there in experience. And keeping tight too, still 0.07 of a second difference. Ronnie exiting Kreisel. Beautiful exit out of Kreisel. That's a really nice exit and a good entry into curve 9, the tricky curve 9, but he takes the same hit that he had in the first heat, just lifting that one runner off the ground and having to correct it in 10.
Skidding away there, fractionally better speed than Sebastian and Ash. He could catch him at the line. It's going to be very close. Will they tie again? Oh, 400s in front.
Just pulls ahead.
Yep.
That is tight racing right there, less than the blink of an eye, 400ths of a second.
I apologize already to whoever next year out of this trio I say didn't make the cut because I've forgotten that there's a 3-way tie. Because normally if you're below 20th in the finishing order, you haven't made the second heat.
Here we see that replay of 9. He had the good entry, but he's missing his steer inside the corner, which causes him to cross too strongly. He takes that hit, that one runner comes up off of the ice, which you never want to see. You want to always have those shiny sides down. Coming out of 10 and just crosses a little bit too strongly into 11.
I want to say hi to Ander Mirambel from Spain, who will be joining the World Cup trail later this season, having just tied up his 2nd North America's Cup title. And also to Jack T. Trey Thomas, watching us from where?
Lake Placid, New York, fighting his jet lag.
Coaching the youngest Chinese sliders. Willi Schneider with the World Cup crew. And this is Yang Wengang. So, Jack, if you've got your young sliders watching, and why wouldn't you? Time to start rooting for the home crew.
A little bit of an underwhelming start in the first heat. We'll see if Jan can improve it here on the second heat. He does have that potential. He is a very springy, quick guy. Yes,
yeah,
there
we
it is.
go.
499, flirting with 0.2 faster of a start. This may work out really well for him. Good exit out of 2. Had to use a little bit of toe tap to get the right line. Coming out of 3. Pretty nice out of 3 into 4. Oh, just flirting with that wall, but he stays off of it. And we'll see if he holds on to this lead here as he gets to the very technical bottom portion of the track.
Good speed, quicker than anybody we've seen so far. Don't forget, he was the first to set this time, so he's the last of the trio to go. 1900s up.
Tricky exit out of 9, but he stays clean. Big height in the middle of 10. Stays off the wall, though. A little bit floppy off of the exit, though. Just hanging on the corners a little bit too long, but I think he has enough in the bank.
Yeah, accelerating away. 3700s, 52.83 would have left him in 8th place after the first heat.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he started 27th with a 5:16. A 4:99 would have been the 7th or 8th start, or 8th or 9th start in the field. So I don't know what happened at the start in Heat 1, but Heat 2, it's an entirely different Jan.
It is, absolutely. That is the run that he was looking for. That's the push that he was looking for. It's such a critical track for the push. But he had the time in between the heats, could reflect on it, and there it comes out of Kreisel. He did have a few problems there, just clipping that slider's left wall, but then gets in nice and straight into 8, then 9. This is the tricky part of the track here. Keeping those runners straight as possible, getting that early entrance into 10.
Yeah, I think he went to the changing room, gave himself a swift kick up the backside and a good solid talking to, didn't he? That was a very different run.
Very much.
Now, Yang Wengang, with 19 sleds remaining, may well move up the order. Andrew Blaser made the World Cup cut for the first time in his brief career. This is only race 5 for him. didn't make the cut at home in Lake Placid. He was 28th in race 1. He's had 3 22nd positions.
It's a big confidence booster to make that second heat. It changes your perspective. It's a good feel. And also, he's the top American in this field today. The only American to make the cut. Starts with a 5:02. Solid start for Andrew, the tallest guy in the field.
He's the only North American slider to make the cut as well, because neither our Canadian sliders made the field.
We'll see how he threads it together. He's just even. He had that small start deficit to Jan, so we'll see how it shakes out. But he does have really good form. He has some nice tidy lines. Good speed, 90.6. Still a dead heat to the 100th of a second.
He was only 500s ahead of Jan from the first heat, and he was only a couple of hundreds behind Sammy Meyer of Austria, who comes up next.
Takes that little tap out of 9, very common. We've seen it a lot. Good speed still, though. 101 takes another tap. Sliders left side into the labyrinth.
Still only 600s behind. 119 speed, 120 for Jan, so he'll be second at the line. Still a career best, 53.05 run for him, and he will be in no worse than 20th place. And that is his best World Cup result in his brief career so far. So good job. Andrew Blas having a season high in the oddest of places for a North American slider. Indeed. In Innsbruck.
In Innsbruck. He is self-funding this. He was ranked as the 3rd USA slider, so he and Savannah Graybill are staying in a separate hotel from the rest of the team. But it must have paid off. It gave him the space, and he was able to focus, and he had a solid result here. There was one little tap, one of his 2 taps that he took, but otherwise a solid run for Andrew.
Well, right now I'm thinking Eagles has probably just bumped itself up to his favorite European track.
They have.
Of course, we've still got St. Moritz to come, which is, you know, the...
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's the big hit on the exit, the seal curve, the finish curve there.
Doesn't know where to go yet, does he? Not been in the leaders box before, not been in the leaders box today though, but he got to watch that run down at the bottom. So Sammy Meyer up for Austria, the first of 2 Austrian sliders who come in quick succession. Matthias Guggenberger there with the sled, coaching Latvia and Austria.
It's a good partnership that they have going.
Yeah.
Matthias Guggenberger, that's his former home track as well. A lot of insider knowledge. We'll see if we get any better start here from Mr. Meyer. It was 5:25 in the first heat, 5:25 in the second heat as well. So he ties that start from the first heat, and we'll see if he has those secret Austrian lines and builds the speed as he did in the first heat.
Well, the problem is Jan went so much quicker in the second heat at the start alone. Yeah.
Exactly. It's going to be a big gap. We'll see what he can do. Making a little correction there in the upper labyrinth as he enters into the Kreisel. Nice high line above those blue lines from the luge, but held it on the exit pretty well. Good entry into 8.
Well, this is not the run he wanted. He was 5th fastest at the start. He is going to be the Lanterne Rouge, last man in the field at the moment. Unless he can overhaul Sebastian Anash of Romania. I'm not sure, well, 120.9 fastest speed, so he bumps himself up to 3rd. 53.15. That was a 10th slower than Andrew Blaser on that run, so he is behind Blaser, and Yang Wengang continues to move up the leaders box.
Not quite enough track there for Sammy to catch back up.
Youngest uncle in the field, his young nephew Hendrix Meyer is here with mum Elizabeth, who will be commentating in the men's race shortly.
The women's race coming up.
Beg your pardon, the women's race. Yes, these are the men. Well done, Martin.
Here's the load. It's a nice smooth load. He just doesn't quite get the power and the turnover that we see from some of the other athletes. Almost nailed the 9 to 10 straight away. Just took a light tap because he had a little bit of extra height, but he doesn't skid the sled, stayed relaxed, and had some pretty good speed at the bottom as a result.
5 sleds down and 17 still to go in our 22-strong top 20 field here at race 5 of the Men's Skeleton World Cup.
Here we see Florian Auer, the steam machine. He's looking for some redemption. He was a bit sloppy and he was disappointed with his run in the first heat. He knows he has more, and he had a solid start too. He could move up the order here. We'll see if he can challenge the Chinese slider Yan. Anything can happen.
10th of a second in hand from the first heat, but he needs, he only started 400 slower, so he's still got 600s in the bank.
5:03, not a bad start at all though for Flo. And he's got that insider knowledge over that 50 km/h mark. We'll see if he carries it down, and this could be tight at the finish. 1/10 of a second in the bank. We'll see if he tidies it up. It's looking solid so far. Oh, takes a clip before 6. That's unusual. We haven't seen that before.
Older brother Alex, also an Austrian slider, retired after the games a couple of years ago.
Retired, and Alex a new dad as well, so congratulations.
Congrats to him. Yeah, he did commentary with me here last year at the track.
Flo just making a couple mistakes, creeping in that middle portion of the track. The bottom is tidier, but it's running away from him. It's falling back. And
hasn't got the speed of Jan, and he's not going to be in front of the line. He too drops behind Andrew Blaser. So Blaser's career best is looking better and better. Now no worse than 18th place. Jan will be no worse than 17th. And Florian Auer looking at 20th place. Yeah, that clip early on, we haven't seen anybody do that so far.
That's the first time we've seen that going into curve 6. Curve 6 is that setup curve before Kreisel. Here we see it. That's curve 5, so he hangs on to 5 a little bit long, drops the runner, and it crosses him too strongly, and there it is. You see the ice flick up into the air, and that set him up poorly for 6, 7, and time just ran away from him.
Yep. And when you hit early on this track, there are no meters of ice, not enough to try and find that speed back again. So Florian Auer very disappointed, offers his congratulations to Jan Wengang. Not the Innsbruck race he wanted. Vladislav Heraskevich next up for the Ukraine. 300s quicker than Florian Auer, 1300s in hand over our current leader, Jan Wengang of China. Doesn't start gangbusters, but he is a fearless slider and he has a lot of mass and presence on the sled. Let's see if he can hang on to his position.
Vladislav getting ready to rock and roll here in the second heat. Big guy, and he has improved his start a lot from the last season. 5'11", puts him in the field. He's got 100th of a second advantage. He's going to be down on velocity to the Chinese slider, though, and he's in the red, as we can see right now. But that's not his specialty. His bread and butter is his sliding ability. Has great form, drives some great lines, and we'll see if he can catch him by the bottom of the track.
Really holds his form, heels together, trying to be as aerodynamic as possible. He's got a big frontal area. He's got big, broad shoulders, so he needs to keep those buried in the sled. 1100ths
of a second, driving some nice lines. Oh, takes that skid.
Speed is good, 101.5. Only Sammy Meyer quicker at that stage. How close is he going to be? 900s, 120.2. That's quicker than Jan. This could be right to the 100th. We might have a tie for the lead. No, 700s back. Jan stays in the leader's box.
Jan continues to climb. That is the difference of what a good start can do when you get below that 5-second mark. Gives you all the options, and we see it now. He's climbing the leaderboard.
It's okay.
Yeah, not happy with the crash mats. More crash than mat at the end of the run. He's assisted to pick up the sled. Yeah.
Not happy with that. Here we see that 9 to 10 straight away. Almost nailed it, but he started to drift, so he starts to break into a skid. You see him, he put the toe down, try to correct it. But just that could very well have been where those 700ths
it's normal
of a second
run. You see?
Yeah, I think that, though, is the frustration with his own run, rather than everybody knows what the crash mats are like at the end of the run here. Yevgeny Rukoshwev of Russia, right behind teammate Nikita Tregibov. So here's the third of our Russian sliders, and the two of them were 15th, Rukoshwev, and 14th, Tregibov. And as we get further up the order, the gaps that Jan has to overhaul are larger and larger. Rukoshwev has 2 tenths in hand over the Chinese.
See how it goes. So we've got the battle against the Chinese, and then we've got the battle against his teammate in Tregibov. It's a little Revolution 909 here in Innsbruck. We're starting with a 5:07. Not a bad start at all for Rukoshwev. Looking into curve 3. Good exit out of 2. 3 can cause some problems. He's out a little early, but he makes a good correction. Does he handle it well out of 4? Yes, this is a guy who knows how to slide, and he's making it look pretty easy right now.
He is, isn't he? His slower start has dropped him right down to only 300s in front of the Chinese. Long toe steer, gets a good exit out of Kreisel, though.
Good entry into 9 as well. Keeps that sled low on the exit. Clean, but late into 10. We'll see if it causes problems on the exit.
101.6 is good speed, but rubs down the wall. 120.4, second fastest. I think he's going to be Bromley in the lead, challenging Nikita Tregibov. He is 500s. 52.98. First slide 53.12. So as the day warms up, oh dear. Yeah, as the day warms up, the track I think is getting quicker in the second heat.
Into the crash pads he goes, and oh,
yeah,
he might have hit his head. We saw a couple of those happen in training yesterday.
Yep, I think so.
It's against the wall. It's so dangerous. There he goes into 9. Good entry, gets the height in the right spot, keeps that sled low on the exit. Good form, nice and relaxed. You see him on the sled as he comes towards the camera, just enters a little bit late, and that's what caused him the little problem on the exit. He just crosses a little bit too strongly there and brushes that slider's left side.
So Yevgeny Rukashwev of Russia takes to the leader's box, and we wave goodbye to Yang Wengang of China, but Jan has moved up 7 places. So that's a fantastic second heat for him. Now, Nikita Tregibov, not the Nikita of old. Here's a man who is struggling for pace. His last and indeed only medal on this track was a bronze in 2014-15. And he is 10 places and more away from that right now. 5:06 start.
Identical start to his first heat, which was the 20th fastest. We're not used to seeing Nikita that far down in the start order, so he has to ask himself, does he have it within him to drive himself into a better position?
Had 800s from the first heat. That's up to 1300s ahead of Rukashwev.
And he did slide well in that first heat. He gained 7 spots based on his start time in that first heat, based on his driving. Gets a nice exit out of Kreisel right down the middle of the pipe. Choosing to take that late line into 9. He's making it work really well for himself, too. It's a good exit there. Stellar driving.
Decent speed, 101.5, 120.1, not quite as quick as Rukashwev. Gap is coming down, might be down into single digits. No, finds it at the bottom, 52.89 to 52.98 of his teammates. So he finds another 900ths of a second, but he is a long way from where he would like to be at the moment, I think.
It is a better run, though. He cleaned up everything that he wanted to, and he should be satisfied with that. Here we see again the start, running nice and close to the sled, getting that 5:06 second start time, loading knee first, then to the chest. He's just not quite at his old pace, putting in those top 6, top 10 start times. We'll see how it holds up for the rest of today, though.
Russian 1-2, Nikita Tregibov into the leader's box, and Yevgeny Rukashwev is out. So we get into our top 13 sliders here. 5th race of the Men's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Haven, and alongside me is Nathan Crumpton. Nathan, like a number of our field, slid in the Europa Cup race last year. There are 2 tiers below World Cup, Europa Cup and North America's Cup, and then the Intercontinental Cup, which is the feeding ground for World Cup sliders.
And here we see Sungi. He raced in the ICC last season here in Innsbruck and did really well. 4:87.
Wow.
What a rocket start.
What a start.
If you see the start, it is some phenomenal start times that these Koreans are putting down. Lots of power, 51.1 kilometers an hour, some of the best speed we've seen. Little trouble out of 3, though. He came out too early and just brushed the wall. He's looking to tidy up his run. He's got a lot of potential, and he's just got to hold on to the track.
Half a second up. They're clearly finding all these guys in quads are us, but a lot of them know how to slide ice as well.
They do. They have some of the biggest quads on tour, and it's a lot of power behind that sled. Very clean 9 to 10, too. That's going to help his cause.
Straight down the tubes, but only 100.8, not 101, not 120 there either, so he's losing ground. He will be ahead of Tregibov, but he doesn't have quite as much speed down the bottom as he might have done. 52.57, well, that is 4/10 of a second, give or take 1,000th, better than his first run of a 52.96.
He will be much happier with that run.
Yeah.
Tidied up a lot of the little mistakes that we saw him make in the first heat, and that's redemption there for Sungi.
52.47 in the first heat would have left him second.
That says it all right there.
Yeah,
These
track's
young
getting
Koreans.
quicker, and so is he.
Yep, and the young Koreans, they've got a great sled set up from Richard Bromley, and they're learning their way down the ice and fighting for these podiums.
Well, Richard always said you told Sunbin to do something once and he'd do it immediately, no questioning, just, okay, I'll do that. And it looks like these guys are learning the same way. Sunbin Young leads, Young Sengui rather, leads from Nikita Chegabov and Yevgeny Rukoshwev. We've got a dozen sleds to come. Craig Thompson of Great Britain, our first starter in the field of 30 this morning, and one of the quickest getaways as well. Second fastest start in the field, 4:84. Let's see if he can use the advice between the runs of his coach there, James Howard, and find a way of holding that pressure speed all the way down this short Eagles track.
He likes working with James. He said it gave him a lot of confidence. He said I'm going to get lucky and get that first start draw, and he surely did. It helped his cause, and he's on the cusp of his highest World Cup finish yet.
4:83, equal fastest start with Alexander Chechikov, I beg your pardon, with Marcus Wyatt, his teammate.
Yes, his teammate. The British guys, they are rockets off of the start too, and he puts them in a great position for solid results.
1400s up on Young Sengui of Korea.
Almost the perfect exit out of Kreisel. Just had his nose angle pointed a little bit wrong, but it's clean. Takes that tap, though, out of 9.
100.7. I think that's about as quick as Young. The gap remains. It's going to be a few hundreds. 119.5 is going to be very, very close between the Briton and the Korean, and 800s in front. 52.51. So, again, 52.94 in the first heat. He only had 200s in hand. He quadrupled that. He's loving that.
He is pumped up. He deserves it. Long time coming for Craig. An amazing athlete, incredibly strong, great starter. Just a few small things. Here we see it, very typical. A lot of height in the middle of 4, people crossing too strong. And then here we see the exit of Kreisel coming out and flirting with that wall. Oh, clips just a little bit of the uptake, but just really small things. Much better than his first run. He's able to relax a little bit. He does take this hit that we've seen quite often out of curve 9, but he holds the lead with a much improved run.
And the next few sliders are a fraction in front of him as well. Craig Thompson, your race leader. 11 to go. Next up is Gongwen Chang of China. First ever World Cup medal last weekend. Tied in Lake Placid for the bronze with the Olympic champion Sunbin Yun. And so Gung now, very, very different kind of track. A real glider's track where speed at the start has to be carried down the track.
And he had a solid start in the first heat with a 5:05, improves it to a 5:02 here in the second heat. And he had some of the best driving in the first heat with a 17th place start time all the way up to 11th by the finish line.
He was only 400s ahead of current leader Craig Thompson from the first heat, and that start is now dropped him back to 4/10 behind.
That's what happens when you have such powerful stars like Sung-Yi and Craig Thompson. It really puts the heat on the guys who can't quite keep up. And he takes a little bit of a tap there out of Kreisel too.
Gap came down to 3/10. What's his speed? 91.2, fastest sled of all. 101.9, only Sammy Meyer quicker. It's going to get close, but he's running out of ice too fast. 121.3, fastest sled of all. How close will he be? Will he take the lead? Oh, 400s behind.
Tight racing. That's some amazing driving by Gang there.
Yeah.
Wow, to come back from 4/10
to
down
400s
to 400s
in 1200 meters. That's ridiculous.
It is. They've got something right with the sled setup and with his mentality. That is some phenomenal sliding. Here we see the exit of 9. One of the few mistakes that he made, just taking a very light brush.
There you go, that's 400s.
That right there is 400ths of a second, I bet.
Easily. So Youngwon going half the blink of an eye behind Craig Thompson. 400ths of a second with our final 10 sleds to go. Great Britain's Craig Thompson leads a tightly packed field. Top 3 covered by 800s. Well, Nathan, we are so used to close races. It's such a short track, it's really hard to extend any kind of advantage here, and they more often get compressed together than anything else. 800's covering the top 3, and for Craig Thompson now in 10th place, there he is in the leader's box. The next couple of sleds, again, are only a tiny fraction in front, and they don't have the starting speed that he has. So he's got to be looking at trying to move up into the top 10 for the first time in his career.
Indeed he is, and he is all smiles. He's happy about his highest World Cup finish to date. We know he's had the potential. We've seen him on tour. He's got an amazing start. He has these back muscles that are just bulging out of his speed suit from all the strength that he has. He posts these amazing numbers in the weight room, but it's about sliding and being able to be calm on the sled and get those results that he wants. But he is all smiles, he's happy. He's gonna throw a shout out to his friends and family back at home. He's got a lady friend, Beth, who he wants to give a shout out to, and he is all smiles, and we'll see how high up the leaderboard he can climb.
Yeah, well, hopefully she's watching. Lots of Latvian fans wherever we go. I think Latvia's a lot like Ireland. They export most of their population to various different countries around the planet. There's very few places you can go sliding where there's not a good bunch of Latvian fans. And the next man on ice will be one of our 2 Latvian brothers, Tomas Dukors, unusually on this track, down in 10th position. And his brother, the race leader. We're not going to get a Dukors family 1-2. Last one of those, in fact, we haven't had one of those.
Alexander Trechikov keeps sneaking himself
this
into
decade at the track.
We have Thomas with a couple bronze medals in the past.
Lots of Korean support as well, and some British friends and family up at the top of the track or over the finish area. And there's the Kreisel with the, looks like the Glühwein stand is open for business as well. Very good too. Race 5 men's skeleton World Cup. We're in Innsbruck, Austria, top 10. And Tomas Dukors about to try and hang on to a spot in the 10 ahead of current leader Craig Thompson. Martin Haven alongside me, Nathan Crumpton watching the action.
What can the experienced Latvian do here? 4:99, breaking under that 5-second mark. Just remarkable for Thomas to still be posting these super fast start times over the 50-kilometer-an-hour mark. Great velocity as he exits curve 3. Beautiful entry into 4. Stays off the wall. This is a veteran slide that we're looking at right now.
500s in front of Craig Thompson from the first heat. This is a battle for a top 10 spot. We saw Gung of China 4 tenths back, come back to only 400s at the line. And here comes Dukors closing down. Not as quick as Gung into the Kreisel. Not as quick as Gung out of the Kreisel. This is going to be close, but Craig Thompson, I think, is on the fringes of his first ever top 10 result. Dukors doesn't have 121 velocity. He was wild in the labyrinth, and he drops 3 spots.
So to 4th place there. Not the run that Thomas Dukors was looking for. It was a great run, but I think it was just the push deficit against Craig.
And that was only 1100s faster than his first heat. We've seen athletes go half a second quicker. Okay, so they don't have the consistency that he does, but they're gaining ground.
Exactly, and this is not a bad start at all. Under 5 seconds is an impressive start, but it just goes to show how fast Craig Thompson and Sung-gi Jung really are.
Yeah. So Craig Thompson, in his 7th World Cup start of his career, is now in the top 10 and leads, and the gaps are still tiny ahead of him. Okay, now we get into our German team. Bang, 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 one after the other. Alexander Gassner in 9th place after the first heat. 500s behind the first of the Germans, Felix Kaisinger, and somewhere squeezed in that 500s between them is Axel Junk. And there is Craig Thompson, our current race leader. Looks like he believes a little bit more than when you were saying to him last night after training, tomorrow's your day, I can feel it.
Yeah. He's feeling it now.
He's living the dream. Okay, so Alex Gassner, the 3rd of our Germans in terms of starting pace.
Takes a little drift there out of curve 1, so he flops off the edge. 5:01, he's also going to have an uphill battle. Not quite as fast as Craig or Sung-gi. We'll see what kind of speed Alex has down the ice today. And I gotta say, if anything, he's got a beautiful matching helmet and spike combo with the bright orange there. If nothing else, he is styling on the ice.
Fashion notes there from Nathan Crumpton. 2800s back. Okay, now we have seen 4 tenths is too far away, 3 tenths is too far away. This could be it. He needs big speed though, needs 102.
Quarter second to try and work back. A little bit of a skid.
Ooh, gap's not come down enough. Needs 122 at the bottom. He's not got it. 1700s. I don't think so. He's not as wild as Ducours. How close does he get? Not enough. Craig Thompson living the dream. I think he owes you beers.
I think he does.
I think he does. Not that you drink beer because you're athletes, obviously, but metaphorical beers.
Alcohol-free beer.
Yeah, that's not beer, actually, is it? It's just a drink in a glass.
There it is. Alexander Gassner just dropping back. Craig hanging on to the win.
And
so
again,
far.
with Gung and Jung so close behind, only 800s cover the top three.
Know,
Basically, you beat them all or none of them.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see if maybe the other Germans can muster a little bit more out of the start and they can maybe challenge Craig a bit more. Looking at Alexander Gassner's Kreisel, he uses that toe. Good use of that left toe to make sure he comes out. Nice lines from Gassner, but just not quite the speed that he was looking for.
Well, he stays ahead of Thomas Ducours, which is not always a bad place to be. Next up, Axel Jung, started the season with a gold medal in Lake Placid, fourth in race 2, back to bronze on home ice in Winterberg. He drove his way into the top 3 then, and from 5th place, and then a 5th place finish in La Plana. So he's lost the World Cup points lead, but he is still in 3rd place in the standings, just 21 points adrift.
Are we going to see the Sunrise Prelude here with Axel? He's a great starter. He did not have a great start in the first heat, though. So can he improve it? Is he fighting that sickness that seems to be going around? He does improve, though. 498, 400th of a second down, but his velocity will probably be less than Craig's. Yes, 50.5. So he's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to need a good slide here to see if he can challenge Craig, almost falling to a quarter second back.
Ooh, a little skiddy there as well. Each of these guys has got more and more first heat advantage over the leader, Craig Thompson, but they're making more mistakes.
They are. He took a hit before going into Kreisel, gives him a little problem on the exit, just brushes the wall.
Right.
Oh, I don't know if this is going to be enough, going to 3/10.
This is a proper horror story. This is a real shocker from Axel Jung. This is going to probably see him drop 7, 8 places.
Oh, this is very un-Axel-like. He is usually such a consistent slider.
Wow, 7 places. If there's going to be a video after this run of how not to get down the track, that's the one. He made, apart from missing the sled at the start, every single error you can make on this track.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking to watch. Oh, and he's not feeling good either. He skipped training yesterday.
Yeah.
We think it's because of this sickness. He is not having a good day. Here it is. This is very atypical. Out of 6, going into Kreisel, he takes a hit on the slider's right side. This is now a more typical error. It's too high on the exit of 9, crossing too strong, and then you hit on that left side, getting really bumped away. Oh, that's just eating up the speed.
But again, you know, Jared Firestone, our rookie with only 8 races ever under his belt, looked no less untidy than that.
Right.
And not as, in fact, tidier than that. I mean, everyone says, oh, it's only a cold. No, it's in your head, and your head is the only thing that controls the sled. Felix Kaiser pacing up and down like a caged tiger. Oh boy, is he ready to get let off the leash.
He is
7th place, 500s out of a top 6. 1 World Cup medal in his career. And that was in the opening race weekend.
What can Felix pull out here today? The youngest of the 3 German sliders, but the fastest starter, 493. Is that enough to challenge Craig Thompson, who is hanging on to that lead? Already falls back into the red. Can't quite keep up with Craig. 50.6 kilometers an hour, exiting 3. Good lines.
1300s in hand from the first heat. Started a 10th slower, so that gap will open up all the way down to the Kreisel, and then we'll see what he's got. Still out to 1800s. 90.8. That's not great.
It could be really close. Uses toe twice, gets a good entry into 9. That looks nice. Just stays off the wall.
101. He has just about got enough. This could be the first sled to overhaul 500ths of a second. 120. It's going to be really close. Could be a heat. A dead heat. No, 400s behind.
400.
Wow.
That is ridiculously tight racing.
And I love the way that athletes in the leader's box still can't read which way this is going. Wow, 400s, Felix. All right.
That is heartbreakingly close.
But he doesn't drop the 4 spots. He gets in front of Gung and Jung, so he is genuinely in second place with 6 to go.
Yes, top German so far. Here we see it. That exit out of 9 just drifts late into 10. That's what caused the problem on the exit of 10. And that was more than, here it is, more than 400ths of a second right here. That's probably about a 10th of a second there at the bottom.
There's a couple of guys that have come up the junior ladders side by side.
Everyone back home, thanks for watching.
Craig Thompson, his brain is about to short circuit. He's climbing so many spots.
Well, yeah, because next up is a man in only his 2nd World Cup race, in only his 8th race ever, rookie Amedeo Bagnis from Italy. Now, he was a sensation in Winterberg, and he had a stunning first run to go 6th fastest in a huge field here, but can he deliver a 2nd one?
That is the big question. Can he deliver here? It's about consistency. Look at him, laser focused into the start. Not as quick off the start.
A 10th slower nearly.
Yeah, that is surprising. Maybe the nerves got to him, but oh, he's got his work cut out for him now here. Ooh.
All right, so Amedeo Bagnis, I mean, this guy should be somewhere in Europa Cup learning tracks, but bang, he's so fast, he's come straight into the World Cup. I mean, he's jumped 2 or 3 years of learning progression to be with us here.
Yes, he has, and he looks very at home here. He's comfortable on a sled. He's throwing down some nice lines. He does have a lot of runs here, which certainly helps.
But think about his run compared to Axel Jung. If you said, who's done 6 races ever, you'd say Axel, obviously.
Exactly.
Only 2 tenths back, so he's going to drop behind Alexander Gassner and Thomas Ducours, but he's still going to be ahead of Axel Jung. 6th, wow, 6th place in his 2nd ever World Cup race with 5 sleds to go. He might yet end up with a top 10 result again.
He
and
might.
That's just ridiculous.
It is. Oh, struggling to get off the sled, flipped over.
Well, to get the sled off him, yeah. Get off now. But wow, boy.
Here we see the start, and just not quite the pace he had.
Almost missed the sled with his left hand.
Yeah.
Just got the handle in.
Great form on the sled, though, and even though he dropped back a few spots, I do think this is the future of Italian sliding.
Genuinely, so excited to see him when we get onto our next track, and the one after that, and the one after that. He's just going to be so much fun to watch. Amedeo Bagnis, fantastic. But Craig Thompson leads with 5 to go in Innsbruck. Race 5 of the IBSF BMW Men's Skeleton World Cup in Innsbruck in Austria. 5 sleds to go. Great Britain's Craig Thompson, who was the first out of the start shed, 12th in Heat 1, leads as we get to Kim Ji-soo, Martin Haven and Nathan Crumpton watching the action. And how long will the Craig Thompson fairy tale continue? Surely Kim is going to nail the lid down.
Ji-soo Kim, such a good slider. 489. This is the first start that we can see that is remotely close to Craig, within a few hundreds there. We see what kind of a run he puts down. He is a phenomenal slider, and as I said before, I think he's really due for his World Cup success.
He's gone from 1900s up to only 500s up, though, out of corner 4.
Oh, no, and that error, too, going into Kreisel.
All right, so he brought it back. He's bringing speed, 91.5, fastest sled, but he's now in trouble, hitting everything in sight.
Does he tidy up? No, takes the hit out of 9-2.
99.8, 3 kilometers an hour down. He's still got a tiny lead, 119.6. It's going away. This is unbelievable. Can Ji-soo Kim hang on? Yes, just in front. 52.71 slide. Craig Thompson came down in a 52.51 slide. So his 2700s from the first heat, 2500s from the first heat becomes 500s after 2. But he hasn't dropped like he did in the last couple of weeks out of the top 3.
Exactly. Just making these small mistakes there. You see it, he hit before Kreisel. That pushes him really high on that first pressure. Gives him a little bit of a problem on the exit. Takes a big hit there on the left side. Almost double taps. It just stays off of the right wall. And then here we see a classic shot out of curve 9 and taking that very typical hit onto the left side. Hanging on by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah. Okay, so Kim Ji-soo is our leader. Next up is his teammate, our Olympic champion, Yoon Sung-bin. 2014-15 season, he was off the podium here in 5th. Since then, silver in the Worlds, tied with Alex Chechikov, bronze and 2 silvers in the last couple of seasons.
He has come around as one of the best sliders on tour, always challenging for a medal, if not the top of the podium. Great start.
Wow.
487. There we go. The Korean quads coming into play,
Yep.
giving them great starts. And we'll see how he navigates this ice, just fighting for those little fragments of time here and there.
900s up on his teammate. The gap between them after the first heat was 300s.
Looking very tidy so far. Good entry into Kreisel, 91.6. Solid speed.
Yeah, better speed than Kim by 1/10 of a kilometer an hour.
Into 9. Nice line into 9. Oh, that is textbook. That is a beautiful 9:10.
And this is shooting for the medals again from Sunbin Yoon of Korea. 5 seasons since he's been off the podium. 1:20.9, good speed. Fastest at the bottom though, still Young of China. But a 52.26 slide, fastest of the day.
1-2 Koreans here. First and second at the moment, and that is a beautiful run there. Maybe we could nitpick 1 or 2 small things there in the lower portion of the track, but when you've got a phenomenal start like that, great driving skill and great equipment.
And he's gone from 300s ahead of his teammate to 4800s ahead of his teammate. That was a big second heat.
Big second heat for Yoon there. He's showing why he's the Olympic gold medalist.
Yep. And why he's had so many... Ooh. He's got a little bit of a glute problem there. Is that from the wall or from the push? From the wall, probably. Leads with 3 to go. And we've got a Korean 1-2, Craig Thompson of Great Britain in 3rd. Pressure now for Marcus Wyatt. Craig's come from 6th to no worse, from 12th from no worse than 6th. Marcus Wyatt in the top 3 after the first heat for the very first time in his World Cup career. So, fastest starter in the competition. All he's got to do now is clear his mind, start fast, and slide smooth.
Is it time for another GB podium? We'll see. Craig had a great first run. We'll see if Marcus has it as well. 486, second fastest start of this second heat.
600s ahead of Sunbin Yoon, but he has to have an Olympic-style slide down here. His form was great in the first heat.
It was very relaxed, driving some really great lines. He is a phenomenal driver, great push athlete. He has the whole package. Can he execute? Just falling behind back into the red by 200ths of a second. Using a little bit of a toe on the exit of Kreisel. Lean in, but bleeding just a little bit more speed out to the Korean. Oh, I don't know if he has it in him. We will find out shortly.
Well, right now he is between the 2 Koreans. It's still potentially a medal shot. He's going to be behind Sunbin Yoon. Will he be ahead of Ji-soo Kim at the line? In second place, he is. 52.61, exactly to the 100th of a second, the same as his first slide. 52.61, and that is going to be a career-high result for Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt and Craig Thompson on the same track on the same day.
That is a great day of sliding for GB. Here he comes into Kreisel. Big height. See him drop that little toe. Very quick. Down on the ice, then back off. And the exit out of curve 9. These are some really nice lines here that we're seeing from Marcus. I'd say the arrival of GB Skeleton in Eagles is, they put on a great show today.
Well, he's had 2 top 6 results in his career. 6th in Innsbruck here last year and 5th in Calgary at the end of last season. And now he will be no worse than 4th. Expecting the last 2 sliders to give anything away, though, is hope rather than expectation. Sunbin Yoon is in the medals. What about the man who last won here in the 2006-07 season? Alexander Chechikov, the Russian Rocket.
Can he go above and beyond what he did in the first heat and maybe catch Martin's Dupers? I don't know. We'll find out. 488 for the start. Surprisingly, only the 5th fastest start time. It just goes to show how ridiculously fast these push times have gotten in this day and age in men's skeleton.
Yeah, giving away a decade and 2 or 3 hundredths of a second to the fastest starters in the field. When we went to Sigulda last year, 10 years on from the last World Cup race, he and Martins were both outstarting what they'd done when they were in their early 20s.
It's incredible.
They're just insane.
I don't know how they do it. Alex is having a decent run, a little bit of skids here, little touches on the wall.
Yun was quicker at 1:02.3. He's not going to stay in front. Sunbin Yun is going to move up to silver. Is he going to be second at the line? He is second at the line. 200s.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Ooh, a rough hit.
Right
over
through the
pads.
crash mats. He is rocketing through there.
Through the brainwasher that is the outrun here in Eagles.
Well, Sunbin Yun won by 500s in Winterberg, and he said, well, not really great runs, but I won, so I don't care. That's, you know, that's the right attitude. But Alex, that was another big run. And again, so different from either of his two rivals. Wild and fast. Real Kristen Bromley style sliding.
Here he is on the exit of Kreisel, flirting with that slider's left wall and just sneaking into curve 8 cleanly. And then the exit of curve 9 on that straightaway. Again, broke into a skid like he did in the first heat, just trying to keep it as straight as possible.
Alexander Chechikov in second, Sunbin Yun leads, Marcus Wyatt of Great Britain in third, 1 to go. Looking for his 10th consecutive World Cup win here, his 11th straight victory, including the 2016 World Championships, including the 2018 European Championship gold that he claimed here. Martins Dukurs of Latvia, fastest man in the first heat.
Fastest man here for many years in a row. This is some high fidelity.
Oh, what? 490 in the first heat, 484.
How does he do it?
One man quicker, Craig Thompson, 483.
Looking tidy as usual, Superman on his sled, just making his way down the ice as if he's doing nothing. He makes it look so effortless, so easy, driving beautiful lines and opening up a 0.4 of a second lead.
Yun was quicker, 91.6 to 91.4, but the gap stays at nearly 0.4. Dukurs straight down the middle of the tube like there's nothing to it. 1:02.2, gap comes down a fraction.
121.4, great speed though. He's got enough time in the bank, and I think we're going to see another victory from Martin.
52.16, fastest slide of the first heat, fastest slide of the second heat, his 11th straight win in Eagles. And a rub with the wall at the finish, the same as every other normal human being gets. Another win for Martins Dukurs. I'm going to run out of paper in my results sheet to have lines where it doesn't say Martins Dukurs won this race. Last man not to be called Martins who won here, Frank Rommel in the 2008-9 season. 11 straight seasons he's won here, and that's his first win since Innsbruck last year.
It is.
In World Cup racing.
In World Cup racing, yes, outside of the World Championships. You just see Martin's making it look easy, just driving like it's a video game. Looking so perfect, looking so effortless on the sled. Clean lines out of Kreisel. If you want a textbook definition of skeleton racing, watch this guy right here.
World Cup win number 52, podium number 76. Out of 122 starts. Martins Dukurs wins from Sunbin Yun and Alexander Chechikov. Marcus Wyatt, 4th. Craig Thompson, 6th. What a huge day for those two British sliders. Marcus's best ever at 4th, and Craig 10 places better than his best ever World Cup result in his brief World Cup career. You had a tie right behind them for the best German, Amadeo Banyas, dropping from 6th to 11th position, but again, a great young prospect. And Andrew Blasser making the cut for the first time in his brief World Cup career so far. Fantastically exciting racing as ever here in Innsbruck. Fantastic stuff. Well, Nathan Crumpton, it's a short track, and it's very easy, but that means that the devil is in the detail, doesn't it? It
Indeed.
means you have to cross every T and dot every I. You've got to be perfect.
You do, and it's all these subtle things. Because it's a mellow track, it's the quote-unquote easy track. It makes it difficult to get down quickly, and that's the thing where experience really comes into play. So that's why you have your Alexander Trechekovs and your Martins Dukers who have all these years of experience. They know those fine little details, how to finesse the sled, how to gain speed, and it shows in the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is Martins. Been a long time since he's won a World Cup race, this time last year. Of course, yeah, the trifling insignificance of yet another World Championship gold. There's Granny Varche, Liz's mum, Rita, who she's gone from being Auntie Rita now to Granny Rita, yeah. And Benny Meyer's mum, they're staying at the Myers in town as well, so while they're here in Europe. So it's a battle between the grandmothers to look after baby Hendrix. So I look forward to meeting him in the flesh for the first time.
He was out here in Europa Cup.
Yeah.
All bundled up. Liz had him wrapped up really warmly.
Apparently he's not going to be a slider. He has to do a summer sport. They are very determined on that. But since Benny wants 21 kids, I think the chances of all 21 of them avoiding winter sports are relatively slender. So Liz might have a work cut out for her there. But yeah, it's being born into a family business, a family of bobsledders and skeleton sliders. Indeed. On Benny's side and slider on Liz's side.
I know. It's in the family.
It is in the family. Much as they try to avoid it, apples tend not to fall far from trees. All right, so a fantastic race here from the men's skeleton. And that raises the bar nicely for this afternoon's women's race. Looking forward to that one enormously. 5 races into our World Cup season for men's skeleton, and Martins Dukers, with his first win in a full season of World Cup racing, extends his lead slenderly over Alexander Trechikov. Sun Bin Young moves up to 3rd as Axel Jung slips to 4th position, and a second place here for Alexander Trechikov. Sun Bin Young moves him closer to Trechikov, who took 3rd spot here on the podium. Entertaining stuff from our huge field of 30 athletes here, and some big days. Andrew Blas making his first cut in the World Cup, and Great Britain's Craig Thompson and Marcus Wyatt both having their best ever results. But again, Nathan Crumpton, wherever you go, Martins Dukers is a factor, but here he is dominating.
He does. He has such a strong history here, winning so many gold medals in a row and opening it up on a really talented field. It is pushing really well, driving much better, but at the end of the day, experience won out, and Martins took the win.
So there is your podium, and none of them unfamiliar with the podium here at Innsbruck. They're all quick starters. They're all empirically superb sliders. Martins Dukers, win number 11 on the bounce. Sun Bin Young, a 3rd straight silver out of 4 in the last 5 years, and Alexander Trechikov takes the bronze medal. Well, that's it from the men's skeleton. Women come up at 2 local, 1300 Greenwich Mean Time. In the meantime, my very great thanks to Nathan Crumpton. Look forward to seeing you hopefully in the Worlds for American Samoa, their first representative in men's skeleton. And until the next time, from Nathan, from me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, it's Auf Wiedersehen for the moment from Innsbruck. We'll see you later.